or in the case of oil, you're drilling it out, that the whole economy says, why do we want to work and manufacture goods or, work in services? Let's just work in mining because always it's like, money doesn't grow on trees, but it gets pumped out of the ground. Or in our case, we dig it out of the ground. So you have a economy itself which becomes weaker and weaker, and this has been seen historically. The earliest example I know of in the academic world is Spain was in the 1500s the most powerful country in the world, and they discovered oil, silver, an entire mountain called Potosi in Bolivia, which was almost pure silver. He basically mined the whole thing, spent the money, became very powerful, but when the money was over, Spain was finished. So now that's the problem with mining. What do we do about it? Well, as Claude explained just a little bit earlier, if you think about minerals, what really are minerals? Minerals are inherited wealth. Nobody out here has created any mineral. Because they are inherited wealth, we have a responsibility to make sure that our children inherit either the minerals or its value. Now, we've inherited the minerals because our ancestors did not. If we decide to extract the mineral, what are we giving to our children? Now, let me take a simple example to explain this idea. Suppose you inherit some gold jewelry from your parents. Now, in almost all cultures in India, it's very well understood that what you've inherited this gold, you can wear it or use it, but your children must inherit the gold, or if you don't have children like me, your nephews and nieces have to inherit the wealth. But then gold is not necessarily such a good thing, because if you keep it in the house, you're worried about theft, there's a risk. So you put it into the bank locker and now you're paying money for your inheritance. So you say, okay, let me sell the gold, I'll buy a piece of land. Today I get the income from the land, my child will inherit the land, they will get income, and it will pass through generations. So this is the basic idea. So we've condensed this into 5 basic principles. Principle 1 is natural resources, including minerals, are owned by the state as a trustee on behalf of the people and especially future generations. Principle 2, since we have inherited the minerals, we have to ensure that our children inherit either the minerals or its value. Now, if you think about it, what is mining? Mining is basically the sale of the minerals, because after mining happens, the minerals have gone on the ship, they're in China. What has the state government got? The state government has got basically 3 things. They've got auction, they've got royalty in the old situation, they've now got the 10% which the Supreme Court has said must be paid towards the Goa Iron Ore Permanent Fund. And now we have the auction premium, which is another 75%. Claude showed you the figures. It's basically a total, just from these 4 leases, of 43,000 crores will come. And we can work this out from the auction results itself. Now, what has been auctioned is basically at the Supreme Court has put a cap on mining on 20 million tons. So this 43,000 crores at this mining cap can be exhausted in just 7 years. So in 7 years, you can finish up all the minerals in these 4 leases and we will get 43,000 crores. Now what is going to happen to this money? It's basically about 5,000 crores for the budget and about 600 or 700 crores for the permanent fund. If you are the politician, you're going to say bonanza. Because this 5,000 crores, just to give you an idea, the Goa budget for this year is 17,000 crores, about 3 times that. The Goa state budget in the area of non-tax revenues, which is leaving aside GST and all, but including all electricity bill payments for everybody in the state, all water bill payments for everybody in the state, everything we get from mining and a whole variety of other money, non-tax revenue, that is itself about 5,000 crores. What we're going to get from mining in each year will be more than that. And we've seen in various countries around the world, Alaska is a great example, when money starts coming from mining, they just are irresponsible. Alaska basically removed all taxes. It's become a full, costless kind of an economy, plus they get a dividend because they don't save all the money. And we are headed into this kind of a trap. The government is saying 5,000 crores. Claude mentioned, I don't know if you can get the slide up, we'll see if you can do that. But since 2000, except for 2 years, we never got even close to 1,000 crores by way of royalty. Today we're talking about getting 15,000 crores, 5,000 crores each year. Let me just see if I can get this once. Let me just take these, just give you a sense of the numbers. So budget is getting 5,700 crores, permanent fund is getting 600 crores each year. This tells you how much the Goa government has historically got from mining from 2000. If you look at it, basically in 2 years we've come close to 9,000 crores. And the last 2 years in this thing are basically budgeted estimates and that kind of stuff. But you can see that mining has not been the backbone of Goan economy. 937 crores is what we're going to get just by way of royalty, just from the 20 million tons. Same figures, but now we add the auction premium, and the total amount we're going to get now is 5,700 crores compared to what we got in the past. It's a massive jump. And now let's compare it to the budget. 5,700 crores compared to the budget of 17,500 crores. In 2000, one decade ago, in 2011-2012, our entire state budget was smaller than the money that we're going to get now from mining, just from mining. And we are going to spend it. The last comparison, I just mentioned this, 5,700 to the budget. Right now we're getting from all sources non-tax revenue of 5,100, and the inflow because of borrowings and stuff like that is also the same amount. So basically government is saying bonanza. And if we look at the opposite situation, suppose we do what we had said. Suppose we say we took all this money from mining and put it into the permanent fund, paid out a dividend. Already we have 500 crores, we can get today a 100 rupee dividend. If we take the 10% which the Supreme Court has said and put it into this and pay out a dividend, we can each get about 1,000 rupee dividend. If you put the entire amount from mining, then at the end of the 7 years of mining, every person in the state of Goa, man, woman, child, will get 9,000 rupees. And it is a right, because it belongs to us and it belongs to our children. So if you can think of it the other way, if the government takes away this money into the budget, it's basically putting a tax on all of us of this amount, because it's a right and they're just surreptitiously taking it away. Imagine if the government went out and said, we are going to tax every single person in the state of Goa 1,000 rupees. However rich or poor, even if you're a beggar on the street, you have to pay 1,000 rupees. Is that feasible? Not. But doing it in this manner, it is going to be feasible, and it is up to all of us to stop it. So just to summarize our proposal, we have two sides to it. On the benefit side, we are fulfilling a duty to our future generations, saving all that 43,000 crores for them. It is easy to show that this is actually economically far better than any other proposal. We've created a Goa Foundation benchmark for fiscal policy, the academic papers. It is fair to all. Our children will inherit what we did in money terms. And today, everybody gets a dividend, treating every single person in the state equally. And most importantly, it makes everybody in the state of Goa a stakeholder in the success of the state. That's very important on one side. On the other side, it protects our state from declining wealth, so that we don't just keep on digging out our wealth and consuming it. All societies we know about the rich fellow who inherits money and spends it and consumes it. This has happened at national level all over the world, and we have to defend against it. It defends against the corruption of governance. It is no secret to everybody out here the way what we used to call the mining barons, how they used to control politics really since liberation of Goa. And it also protects Goa from falling trapped to the easy money attitude. This is not susegad. We'll basically get into a situation where people are, getting this 5,000 crores a year. Government says, let's have maza, and everybody sits on their backsides, and we'll have the complaints that we hear even today from businessmen that don't want to work. But if you have this kind of a situation where the government pays for everything and has schemes for everything, you will simply not have a society or an economy left. So while I'm not a Goan, I've been here nearly 15 years, I'll soon be domiciled. But I feel personally that I too have a stake in these minerals, I too have a stake in this society. We need good governance, and mining is a cause not of bad governance in mining, but in bad governance across the society. And if we don't fix it this way, we are really looking down the barrel of a big disaster in future. So let me just end there and hand it back to Sandesh.
ताजे खातीर लढपाक जाय आनी जाय जाल्यार वेगवेगळे जे प्लॅटफॉर्म्स आसात तांचे मेरेन वचपाक जाय. ही कार्यावळ सुरू जावचे पयलीं हांव हांगाचे पळय कांय तज्ञ कांय एक्टिविस्ट आयिल्ले तांची हांव मुलाखत घेतालो. गोंयची माती म्हळ्यार कितें, तर तांकां हांव तुमकां सांगता, एकाय एक्टिविस्टाक किंवा एकाय तज्ञाक गोंयची माती म्हळ्यार कितें हाची जाप दिवपाक आयली ना. कांय जाण म्हणटाले ना आमचे मायनींग एरिया, आमच्या एरियान हो पयसो खर्च करचो, जे पळय कितें खंदक तयार जाल्यात ते पुरोवचे, ते झाडां रोवची, बस घालची, रस्ते करचे. गोवा फाउंडेशन गोवा माती, गोंयची माती म्हणून जो पळय कन्सेप्ट घेवन आयला, तो कन्सेप्ट कितें आसा? तो आसा की आतां फकत हो जो पळय मायनींग महसूल मेळटा तो फकत 10% परमनंट फंडान घालतात. तो 90% किंवा 100% परमनंट फंडान घाल जाल्यार कितें करूं शकता? 5 वर्षानंतर प्रत्येक नागरिकाक, प्रत्येक घरकुलाक न्ही, प्रत्येक घराक न्ही, प्रत्येक नागरिकाक 9,000 रुपये वर्साक मिळू शकता. दिस इज समथिंग बिग. हे फक्त गोंयान देशान जावंक शकता. ताका लागून एक आपुलकीची भावना वाडटली. मायनी आमच्यो, मायनी आनी कोणाची न्ही. एकटे बरें आमी सद्याच्यान बरें म्हणलें मायन ओनर म्हणटाले. आतां आमी सारके हेतू पुरस्सर बारीक नदरान म्हणटात लीज होल्डर, फॉर्मर लीज होल्डर. लीज होल्डर म्हळ्यार कितें, तूं घराचे भाड्यान रावपी मनीस, त्या भाड्याचे घर तूं विकूंक शकना. काय मायन ओनरान आपली घरां विकून सुद्दां उडयली. अशे तरेन मायनी पूर्ण लीज विकून उडयल्यो. कांय वर्सां तर आमचे कडेन एक पयसो येनाशिल्लो. सगळो पयसो मायनींग कंपन्यो खाताल्यो. ताका लागून गोंय अक्षरशः भिकेक पावलो. आनी आमी म्हणटात पळय, ह्या बजेटान 5,000 कोटी रुपयांची गरज आसा, आनी ते 5,000 रुपये खंयच्यान मेळटले ह्या नदरेन सबंद लोक आतां मायनिंगांतल्यान जो पळय पयसो येतलो ताचे कडेन सरकार जवळ दवरून आसा. म्हाका दिसता ह्या विशयाचेर आमकां कशे तरेन आमी कंट्रिब्यूट करूं शकतात. तातूंत भितर एक इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट आसा, एक सायंटिस्ट आसा, एक लेखक एक्टिविस्ट आसा, एक लेखक आसा जो ह्या एरियेन रावता, आनी एक ह्या विशयाचो अर्थकारणाच्या नदरेन, राजकारणाच्या नदरेन जाणी बारीक अभ्यास केला. लक्षात घेयात, मायनींग गोंयान चलताल्यो, पण मायनिंगा संदर्भात लोकांच्या नदरेन जे पळय कितें अर्थकारण आसा ताचो अभ्यास फक्त राहुल बसवाट केलो. ताका लागून तो खरो गोंयकार. तुका आमी सर्टिफिकेट दितात. तर हांव तुमचे कडेन सगळ्यां कडेन मागता की तुमी सुरवातेक मायनींग फंडा बद्दल तुमचे जे पळय कितें अवगत आसा, तुमचे जे पळय कळ्ळां ताचेर 5-5 मिनटां उलोवची. मागीर आमी परत लोकां कडेन उलोवया आनी मागीर परत तुमकां आमी संदेश दिल्यार म्हाका दिसता बरें जातलें. नो, आय थिंक यू स्टार्ट.
Good evening. So I first would like to say, as an ordinary citizen, thank you to Goa Foundation for doing this human service to Goa. I was in the regional plan committee, and there the backbone of Goa's industry, the mining backbone they call it, contributed 300 crores, including all the truck drivers' taxes, against a profit of 5,000 crores. So when you look at 300 crores, which actually the royalty must have been much less, against 5,000 crores now, it's a huge change. That means that money has been flowing off somewhere. Having said that, I'm glad that this is just an introduction and it's meant to make people think. And I didn't want to start because I don't really subscribe to this dividend concept. And the reason I'm saying that is because we have industry on industrial land which is taken from people, and so then they will say you should also get dividend. I think that you have an example of that as Magarpata city in Pune, where it's taken from the Muggers and they keep getting dividend. So that can work, but there has to be something, because while zone cars and we are familiar with it, I don't think you can have many people coming in to become a Gaukar. It's you're a Gaukar or not a Gaukar, and that they get the zone based on that aspect. Now, as a voter, we know today in Goa, everybody is moving to Goa, and they just move their Aadhaar card or they move their voting card. Some of them have voting card in both the places. So, this dividend of 9,000 is calculated on a certain fixed number, which if you say you're going to get dividend in Goa, the rest of India is going to be in Goa. So, I don't see how it's going to work. But I am saying that there is a thought has to come out, because I consider myself prudent, but I didn't realize that 5,000 crores is going to come in a year into the budget, and what are they going to do, with this money? You have many ways to skin a cat. So things have to be thought about. People have to start thinking, yes, this is going to come in. What has to be done with it? I also believe that the reason we have development is because of corruption. If there is no corruption, then the government employee sits down and says he gets his salary anyway. If he makes the road or he doesn't make the road. So one reason that he's motivated to do it is because he gets some extra money or whatever. Two is the political system. That's the root cause. They have to make money for the next election. In case they lose, they have to make money for the election after that. So they're making money. So because of that, we can't say we can't do anything. Now this permanent fund, yes, there is money going in. You can have more money going into it, and then use the interest to maybe put it something like that. But we need travel, whether we like it or not. We use iron ore, so we have to take it out. How to take it out in the best possible manner? There are ways to do it. It costs money. If they could pay 5,000 crores extra and not pay for so many years, that means there was money in that activity. Whatever. So it is feasible to do, and we need to think of what way we can do about it and how it's best utilized for the state of Goa. I think that
much first for inviting me for this historical meeting, and being a teacher, I think it's a boon to be able to share whatever you feel with your students in your classroom and make them aware of various things. Like today I was teaching my students about marine pollution, and it gives me I have always a broken heart when I talk about these pollution levels in our environment, because human beings are just 0.01% of the total animal kingdom, and we are just 2.5% of the total biomass of animals, but we have done more than 80% of the destruction of our planet. So we contribute to so much of destruction, and I think it's very indiscriminate whatever we are doing with, in relation to the environment, and I think we have to respect all the animals which live on this planet with us, because we are destroying it indiscriminately. When we have mining, we are destroying so many trees, and each and every tree has a specific ecosystem and a habitat for different animals, and they are interdependent on the tree as well as the sap of the tree or the air of the tree around it, and we are destroying so much of the environment. I think it's our responsibility to keep all this environment and all the environment around us, and we should always think that we are trustees of the environment and keep it for our future children. We have not inherited our planet or our land from our forefathers or our ancestors, but we are responsible for giving it to our children. We have borrowed it from our children at present, and I think it's our responsibility to give the planet or the earth or everything around us to our children in a very good form, and not in a polluted form and in a destructive form. And one of the things which I'm always concerned about is all the other countries which have mining in their region. They have a lot of leases, but when the lease gets over, they're supposed to hand over the land to the government and repaired, in a repaired condition. That means after reforestation. Like in Australia, they had so many leases, and after mining was over, they used to legally give it on that specific date by planting vineyards and grapes. So it was a reforestation. And that doesn't exist in Goa at all. Because when you travel from any other country back to Goa, you can see a bleeding Goa or wounded Goa, which hurts me a lot when I look out of the plane window. And we don't have any reforestation rule at all. So I feel that it has to be mandatory to have some kind of a rule that we have to give back the land in a reforested form, you know. So I think that has to be a mandatory thing, and some of the funds from this fund could be spent on reforestation, because I think that's very, very important. All the diseases which we are getting now, and in future there will be lot more diseases, because the Arctic belt is melting very fast. I represented India in the Arctic expedition twice, in 2009 and 2019, and it's a big shock to see the Arctic belt melting so fast. There are lots of organisms which are going to come in the waters now, and we are going to have many more very weird diseases which we never thought about, because there are some dormant viruses which live at -degrees. We are warming the planet, and they're all coming back and becoming pathogens and infecting humans. So there may be even destruction of the human race in a very short time, which is already, scientists have been thinking about that. So we have different strains of viruses now coming on, and this is because we are not taking care of our environment. And mining is one of the aspects where we are cutting down trees, cutting down the vegetation, bringing more organisms from the depth of the earth into the waters, and there's a lot of leaching which is involved. So we are displacing microorganisms from one place to the other and making the whole environment detrimental for humans as well as other animals. So I think we have to be very concerned about this, and whenever anyone has an operation, we always have an open wound which is stitched back to its normal condition. And in the same way, I feel that mining also, if we do some harm to Mother Earth, it has to be brought back into a normal condition and reforested and given to our children in future. Thank you.
Sent me the write-up. I called him and asked him, should I agree with you or I can disagree with you? He said, of course not. You can say what you want. So I'm going to say what I want. But before that, I want to congratulate Norma and Claude and Goa Foundation for, the vow which they took to save Goa and heal Goa, and have been continuously working. We now also say very proudly, I'm not very proud that I'm not an activist today, but they are still activists and they've been continuously doing work. I'm proud of them and not of me, because I don't do any of this thing. But I want to disagree with them with one thing, because now the society is changing, and giving dividend to every voter is again going to be a disaster. We have seen when, this doles which are given, barring few, most of the people look at that 2,000 and 5,000 which is given as just money to, spend and, without any cause. And in rural areas where they were part of mining and when they were getting money, they also said, and people have been going for drugs, people have been going, drinking. If you do a research, you will realize that many of these mining belt men have drunk themselves to death, and there are widows and children. So that is why I feel that And that is why I feel that giving them direct money is not correct. But I want to throw a wild idea. The wild idea is this, because every one of us throw wild ideas and sometimes they come true. So maybe what I have realized today is our opposition at every time it is weak. And these opposition parties, they tell, see, we are joining the ruling party because आमच्या constituencyचं development जायना. We are not getting any money. We are not getting any development. So I feel, some part of entire money should go to the fund. Some money should be given to this opposition party wherever they have all the MLAs for development of those constituencies, so that they also feel empowered and they also get scope to develop their constituencies. Because right now what is happening is ruling government never pays attention to opposition people, their MLAs, and they have to go and beg. So if they have their own fund, I feel that they will be empowered. Of course, these MLAs also, we have to hold them accountable. We will have to think about it, but I would like to throw this idea, and I feel that full amount should be not 10%, full amount should be for the fund.
त्याबद्दल हांव थोडो सांगता. कारण कशें आहा, हांव एक कुमजाचो गांवकार आसा आनी कुमजात म्हाका दर वर्सा दंड दिता. म्हाका दंड कितलो मेळटा? 1000 भर मेळटा वर्साक. लास्ट 5 वर्सां हांवें तो कलेक्ट करून कित्याक म्हाका 1000 केन्ना तरी घेवया असो म्हणून हांवें आजून तो करना. आतां हो फंड जो 100% फंड येतलो जेन्ना आपण सबंद गोंयकारांक वाडटले तेन्ना ताका शेअर कितलो येतलो? 9,000 येतलो अशें कॅल्क्युलेशन जाता. हय तशें 9,000 जाल्यार बरें आहा. नाल्यार कितें जातलें आतां
सगळो पयसो सगळो जर परमनंट फंडान घालो जाल्यार 9,000 रुपया येता.
हय पूण म्हाका हेचेर थोडो अजून अभ्यास करपाची गरज आसा अशें म्हाका दिसता. खरेंच प्रॅक्टिसन हाडूंक शकता.
पार्श्वभूमी अशी की हो सगळो पयसो हातूंत भितरलो फक्त 10% अमाउंट सध्या परमनंट फंडान घालता. बाकीचो 90% सध्या तांचे गव्हर्मेंटाक जाय तसो खर्च मेळटा खर्च करपाक. ताका लागून जाता अशें की तांकां जें कितें मनान येता तें करतात. आतां हांवें आयकलां एक नॉर्थ गोवा कॉन्स्टिट्युएन्सी नर्सिंग कॉलेज काडटात ह्या फंडांतल्यान. दीस इज ए व्हेरी इंटरेस्टिंग न्यूज. एक नर्सिंग कॉलेज काडटात मायनिंग फंडांतल्यान आनी ती खंय नर्सिंग कॉलेज एका प्रायवेट इन्स्टिट्युशनाक चलोवपाक दितले. सो लक्षांत घेयात खूब पयसो येता. मायनिंगाच्यो सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी म्हणून मायनिंग कंपनी घेता तोय पयसो मायनिंग जो मिनिस्टर आसा ताजे कॉन्स्टिट्युएन्सीन खर्च जाता लाखांनी कोटी. सो हाजो अर्थ कितें की हो पयसो सगळो जर सरकाराक हातान पावलो खर्च करपाक तो आयतो पयसो जालो आनी तो पयसो कोणें निर्माण केला? गोवा फावंडेशनाक लागून तो गोंयांक मेळटा. तो फावंडेशना खातीर गोवा फावंडेशनाक कोण उपकार तांचे कोण मारत नात. वेल्यान पॉलिटिशियनाच्या जर हातान पावलो हो पयसो तो ताजो कितें जातलो? करप्शन सुरू जातलें. अशे तरेच्यो लोकांक जाय त्यो योजना सुरू जातल्यो आनी इलेक्शनान भितर परत हो पयसो
नमस्कार, म्हजें नांव हनुमंत परब. हांव पिसुर्ले ह्या मायनिंग बेल्टांत रावता. म्हजो जन्म थंय जाला. 46 इयर्स सध्या. मेन हांव कॉंग्रॅच्युलेट करता पयलीं गोवा फावंडेशन आनी मॅडम नॉर्मा आनी डॉक्टर क्लाउड आनी सगळे टीम. तांच्यांनी गोंया खातीर एक मोठे उपकार आमच्या खातीर केल्ले आसा गोंयचे मातये खातीर. आनी खास करून आमकां शेतकऱ्या खातीर सुद्दां आमच्यो ज्यो पिटिशन्स आसा तांच्यांनी खूब हेल्प केल्लो आसा. स्टील आमचे 2 पिटिशन बिफोर हायकोर्ट आसा. द डिस्ट्रिक्ट मिनरल फंड जो सुप्रीम कोर्टान सांगलो तो रिझर्व आसा ऑलरेडी. दॅट इज नॉट युटिलायज फॉर मायनिंग बेल्ट बाय स्टेट गव्हर्नमेंट. हो एक मोठो प्रश्न आसा. तो जर जेन्ना सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑर्डर दिवन 10% दवरून तो युटिलायज जावंक ना. आज आमची 80 एकर शेतां अजून पडींग आहा, थंय माती पडल्या. आणि जशें मॅडमीन म्हटलें थंय आमच्याकडे आज जे गोंयांत तुमकां आश्चर्य जातलें, तुमी सगळ्यांक हांव इन्वायट करता या की हालींच डॉक्टर नंदकुमार कामत हे आमच्या गांवांत आयिल्ले सायंटिस्ट. तांच्यांनी एक ऑब्झर्वेशन सांगलें की पिसुर्ले आमचे मायनिंग पिटान जे उदक आसा ते आख्ख्या गोंयांत पावता इतलें उदक आज आमचे आसा. वी हॅव लॉट ऑफ प्लॅन्टी वॉटर, स्वीट वॉटर. पूण तेच उदक आज गोंयचो सरकार आमच्या शेतकरी आमी मागता, आमी थंय कल्टिवेट करूंक सोदता जाल्यार आमकां दिना. आनी ते कोण आसा, जस्ट 200 मिटराक उदक आसा. जर मायनिंग पीट and there is a पेडी 80 एकर. ही आमची जाणटेल्यांची आज्या पणज्याची. आमी जर हे फुडें दवरूंक सोदता, जशें बोरकर मॅडमीन म्हटलें की आमकां थंय आज इतलो डिझास्टर जाला, एक व्हडली व्हॅली थंय तयार जाल्ल्या. देर इज नीड ऑफ न्यू प्लांटेशन. आमची 2 सेक्रेट ग्रूव्ज आसा एन्शियंट टायम, जे आमचे जाणटे आजे पणजे थंय वचून झाडां पळय हाडून सगळे आमकां हे करताले. कित्याक वखद पयलीं म्हणटा ते गांवठी वखद झाडां पालाचे. आज 2 सेक्रेट ग्रूव्ज इन डायिंग पोझिशन आसा. तांकां रिजनरेट करपाक, रिलायव्ह करपाक आज गव्हर्नमेंटा कडेन कांयच एफर्ट्स ना. लास्ट 10 to 15 years आमी हे बॅटल करता. लास्ट 20 years म्हजे 2 टीन ट्रक आसा अजून. हांव एग्रीकल्चर करपाक आमी 12 एक युनिव्हर्सिटीन जेन्ना डिस्कशन जालें त्या नंतर आमी 12-13 आमची शेत सुरू करपाक तयार केलें.
पण म्हजो एक प्रश्न आसा तुमकां.
हय,
मायनिंग फंडांतलो पयसो जे मायनिंग कंपन्यांनी डिस्ट्रक्शन केलां ते वाचोवपा खातीर वापरचो काय मायनिंग कंपन्यांक कंपेर करचें की तुम्ही डिस्ट्रक्शन केलें सारको दिया? What is mining closure plan? Closure plan आशिल्लें की ताणें जे पळय कितें येदी व्हडली खंदक खणल्यात ते सारखे करून दिवचे.
एक्झॅक्टली.
तांचे कडल्यान हे सरकार करून घेना आणि परत मायनिंग फंडाचो पयसो तो वखदां वापरपाक
न्ही. ते मायन एक्चुअली जो डिझास्टर केला पळय तो करूंक जाय, तो अजून 12 वर्सां करूंक ना. पूण ह्या लोकांच्या हातीन इतलो पयसो आयलो जाल्यार हे लोकां खातीर वापरतले हेची शाश्वती कितें आसा? वॉट आर द हेजेर गॅरंटी कोण घेता? इट इज अवर मनी. आणि गांवच्या लोकांक, गोंयकारा खातीर जर वापरना जाल्यार हे कोणा खातीर आसता?
कळ्ळें तुमचो प्रश्न. थँक्यू.
We'll take first 2 questions then, or you want to take all questions?
Yeah.
I'd like to flag off a situation here, some food for thought. I have a piece of property, and one day while excavating,
What's your name, sir?
My name is Mendana, Ephraim Mendana. One day while excavating the property, I come across a pot of gold coins, ancient gold coins. Now, by law, I'm not supposed to keep those coins. It's not my property. I have to surrender it to the government, the archaeological survey or whatever it is. So by that logic, I want to know, how do you say that mining property belongs to every citizen in Goa? I think that it perhaps belongs to the people who owned that land. And they should be adequately compensated. And as and when they are adequately compensated, the balance amount should go towards afforestation as suggested by somebody. So I don't know how good this argument would
I know a
be.
small bit of it. I will explain to you. तुवें जर बांय खणली, बांयक जें पळय उदक मेळटा एज पर रूल, एज पर लॉ, ती तुजी प्रॉपर्टी नासता. यू कॅन यूज इट. अंके मिटर सकयल वतकीर जे कितें मेळटा इट्स द प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ द गव्हर्मेंट. प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ द गव्हर्मेंट मीन्स प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ द पीपल. But anyhow, I think Rahul Basu can explain to you in better way.
What we're going is by the legal system. So under the constitution, what it says is that whatever was owned by the government, which was prior to the formation of India, that property now belongs to the state government, not to the central government. So if you go back, in most parts of the country, it's like this, that basically the minerals under this earth, so the subsoil minerals, used to belong to the princely state or the British Raj, in our case, the Portuguese, and therefore that belongs to the state of Goa. So that's number one, so that's the title part of it. Just for reference also, there are some places like in Meghalaya, there's some tribes which own some, some land with the minerals. There are even families. So it's not necessarily this case, but as far as Goa is concerned, this is the case. Second thing is, under the public trust doctrine, which comes from the Siddharthi Goa case, it's very clear that it says something like natural resources, including forests, rivers, beaches, are owned by the state as a trustee on behalf of the people and especially future generations. So the state owns the minerals under the Article 294, 295, something like that. And then under the public trust doctrine, the state doesn't own it in itself, it owns it as for us and future generations. So what you're saying is technically incorrect as far as Goa and your property is concerned. If I can just address Avinash's question also, what you're saying is basically like, will the politicians agree? And my only response to that is, if you think you can, and if you think you can't, you won't. So if you don't make an effort or you don't think we can win this, we won't win it. If you think we can win it, we can. And I've got a few people from the student agitation here who could probably tell us a little bit about how that could be.
No, why that when Claude and Norma used to speak about this, I don't think I believed, I don't know others, but they did prove themselves, no? Now this entire fund thing is because part of a struggle which they went through. This went through the entire thing. So yes, I really believe that if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't. That's really
Yeah. Just one clarification on this 9,000. Is it the interest that is paying the dividend, or is it from the fund itself?
Hello? Yeah, it's basically, we've calculated, we're basically treating it as an endowment fund, you know. So we've taken a 3% real income. So after inflation, only 3%. With an economy growing at 7%, it's very easy to get 3%. So 3% on the corpus of the fund, divided by the population, is what comes to 9,000.
But this is only for the 4 blocks.
Only for the first 4 blocks.
Only for the first 4 blocks. 9,000 only for the first 4 blocks.
Yeah.
so if the blocks increase, the income will increase.
Yeah,
More blocks.
I mean, there's more money. So basically the question is, does the government spend it? Does the government invest it? Do we put it into the permanent fund? And then of that permanent fund, what do we do with the income? Does the government get it? Or do we keep it away from the government?
Yeah,
So
I
what
think
is that
so.
9,000 into what population? What is that amount?
15 lakhs. 15 lakhs.
15 lakh population. Is there on
What
the,
is that volume?
It's there on this.
so it's 43,000 crores into 3%. That's about 1,200. No, about 1,200 crores. 1,200 crores a year real income.
सुदीप तमणकर जे गोवा फाउंडेशनाचे पेटिशन आसले त्याच्या वांगडा आमची पेटिशनां टॅप जावन सगळी जाल्ले जवळजवळ 3-4 वर्सां आमी त्रास काडल्या दिल्ली सुप्रीम कोर्टान सरकारान ना ते तरेन आमकां हॅरेसमेंट केला ते क्लाउड हरवारीस आमचे विटनेस सुख दुःखाचे साथीदार म्हणटा तशे ते आनी इतले त्रास काडून आमी आयज पळयता की मिनरल फंड जो आसा हो मिनरल फंड सुद्धा ह्या सरकारान सेफ दवरूंक ना मुद्दम हांगा नमूद करता कोविडाच्या टायमार 50 कोटी हेंच्यांनी काडले आनी परत मेडिकल इक्विपमेंट्स घेवपाक सगळो खर्च केला आयज पर्यंत रुपया घालूंक ना आमी प्रत्येक फावटी फॉलोअप करीत आसा म्हणून तशा तरेन हो जो आतां पयसो येता पळय हो कोणाचो न्हू हो खंय तरी कोर्टाच्या आदेशान जाला आनी आमकां प्रत्येक गोंयकाराक अभिमान आसपाक जावो की आतां लीज तरी आतां तुमचे म्हणून कळ्ळें अंडर 39B जे कॉन्स्टिट्युशनाचे आर्टिकल आहा त्याच्या अंडर एअर वॉटर आणि सरफेस लँड दीज आर एसेट ऑफ पब्लिक अँड गव्हर्नमेंट इज केअरटेकर ऑफ दॅट एसेट सो आम्ही सगळ्यांनी आता फुडें अवेअर जावपाक जाय आनी वॉच डॉग म्हणून ह्या फंडाचो गैरवापर करूंक दिवंक कित्याक आमच्या सरकाराक मेळटा तितले कमी सगळे कशा तरेन पयशांचो गैरवापर करप आनी तितूंतल्यान कशें कमिशन खावप इतलें त्या सरकाराक कळटा तेन्ना आमी प्रत्येकान फुडें सरोन आपले आपले परीन एक वॉच डॉग म्हणून PIL फायल करचे पडों किंवा हायकोर्टान परत पेटिशन फायल करचे पडों पूण गैरवापर न जावपाक दिवप एक कर्तव्यदक्ष गोंयकार म्हणून आमी फुडें सरपाक जाय अशें हांवूय ठरयताय आनी तुमकांय सगळ्यांक आव्हान करता की तुमी तुमचो हातभार ह्या सगळ्या गोश्टीक लावंक जाय कित्याक तामणकारान सदांच कोर्टान कित्याक क्लाउड हरवारिस्तान वयचो बाकीच्यांक ज्ञान ना एडवोकेट ना गोंयान आनीक कोण लोक ना शिकलेले सदांच तामणकारान कित्याक PIL फायल करूंक जाय किंवा आनी कोणी कित्याक करपाक जाय सगळ्यांनी फुडें सरूंक जाय, प्रत्येकाची जबाबदारी आहा. आनी आमचें गोंय राखपाक जर तर आमकां अधिकार आहा राज्याचो नागरीक म्हणपाक, जाल्यार आमी ते फुडें सरपाक जाय. थँक्यू.
There was a question about district mineral fund. If you can clarify, there's a separate fund which you asked. Rahul or anybody on?
Not utilized.
राजूबाब, तुम्ही जो प्रश्न केलेलो न्ही, मायनिंग क्लोजराचो इश्यूज जो आसलो न्ही, तो आत्तां हांव शिरगांवचो गणेश गांवकर आनी आमी सगळ्यात चड सफर करता ह्या इश्यूचेर. व्हडले पिट्स आमच्या गांवांत जी लोकवस्ती आसा त्याच्या पेक्षा व्हडले मायनीचे पिट्स आसात थंयसर. आनी जेन्ना आतां मायनीचो हो प्रश्न उबो केलो, नवीन ऑप्शन्स करपाचो जेन्ना प्रश्न उबो जालो, तेन्ना आमी मेमोरेंडम सगळ्या डिपार्टमेंटाक घातली की ते करूं नाका म्हणून. करतल्यात जाल्यार पयलींचे जे मायनीचे पिट्स जे घालून थेयलेले आसा ते पयलीं कायद्या प्रमाणे क्लोजर करात म्हणून, जे सिस्टमा प्रमाणे मायनिंग लॉन जे दिल्लेले आसा त्या प्रमाणे क्लोजर करून तेजेर रिफॉरेस्टेशन करून कंप्लीट करा म्हणून. ते करपाक त्याच्या नंतर आमी गव्हर्नमेंट तेजेर काय लक्ष दिना. आमी अंडर RTI खुबश्यो गोष्टी मागल्यो. आमी रिकमेंडेशन्स केली तांकां, वचोन डेलिगेशन्स घातली. तेन्ना तांकां आमकां लक्षांत आयलें की येदी व्हडली जी तळी मारून दिलेली आहा ती तळी अशे तरेन आसा की ती जर तर फुटात न्ही जाल्यार पूर्ण आमचो शिरगांव गांव काबार जातलो. तर तेंच्यांनी डिपार्टमेंटान आमकां सरळ सांगलें की ते आमी कांय करपाचें ना, तांकां फक्त फेन्सिंग करून पॅक करून दितले, भितर कोण पडपाक जायना म्हणून. ह्या तरेचे गव्हर्नमेंटाचो एटिट्यूड्स आसा. म्हणजे ते कायद्यान ज्यो मायनी इतल्या वर्साच्यो ज्यो 1949 चालू आशिल्ल्यो त्यो मायनी परत बंद करपाक जाय आशिल्ल्यो आनी दुसरे कडेन मायनींची सुरू करपाक जाय त्यो न करता थंयसर. म्हणजे आतां पळय, आनी पिसोर्ल्याची जी खबर सांगल्या इनफ ऑफ वॉटर आसा म्हणून, आमच्या मायनींग तेंपान आमच्या गांवांत सकयल शेती जी आसा ती भरपूर आसा, पूण शेती करपाक सुद्धा एक सिस्टम आसा. एका वर्सान कमीत कमी 1 ते 2 म्हयने ती शेती करतलो न्ही बरी जाल्यार सुकपाक जाय ती. सरात आनी वांयगण पीक जाल्या उपरांत परत सुकपाक जाय. आयज पोझिशन अशी जाल्ली आसा, मायनी बंद जाल्या कारणान त्या पिठांतले डायरेक्ट उदीक जे आसा ते शेतान भरून उरलेलें आसा आनी तेका लागून आमकां शेती करपाक सुद्धा मेळना. प्रॉब्लेम हो जाल्लो आहा की शेती सुकाना, कंटिन्यू उदक म्हणजे त्या शेतीच्या तळें जाल्लेलें आसा. सो हे प्रॉब्लेम जे आसात हे क्रिएट जाल्यात, हे सफर जातात आमी हांगासर. आनी तेका लागून म्हाका दिसता हो मायनिंग क्लोजराचो प्रश्न जो तुमी म्हटलेलो आसा तो गव्हर्नमेंट करपाक तयार ना. ताजेर तो प्रेशर आमी घालपाचो सगळे प्रयत्न करतात आमच्या लेवलाचेर. गोवा फाउंडेशन क्लाउड बार सुद्दां आमकां भरपूर हेल्प करता. पूण ह्या लेवलाचेर सामका बाकीच्या कडेन आमी वयतात विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू द मायनिंग फंड्स. जशें हेंच्यांनी सांगलेलें तशें की पूर्ण गोंया खातीर म्हण किंवा स्टेटीचो वापर जावप हो तितकोच गरजेचो आसा. परंतु त्याचो पयलो जो DMF फंड जो आसा तो DMF फंड आत्तां सुदीप बाबान सांगल्या प्रमाणे युटिलायझेशन जाल्लेले ना ताचे. आनी युटिलायझेशन तो पेंडिंग पडल्या कारणान ते पयशे फुड्याक काडलेले आसा गव्हर्नमेंटान. गव्हर्नमेंट चान्स मारपाक सोदता, हे सगळ्यांक खबर आसा. आनी अजून ताका मायनिंग बेल्टान DMF फंडा बद्दल कांयच खबर ना, जो कित्याक लागून युटिलायझेशन करपाक जाय. म्हणटकच आता परत प्रश्न हो निर्माण जातलो की हो नवो फंड येयलो काय ना, जे मागीर परत जाय थंयसर यूज करतले. सो हो युटिलायझेशन जी सिस्टम जी आसात न्ही खंय तरी जाग्यार बसपाक जाय अशें खंय तरी दिसता.
Cloud Babu, can you clarify on this? Why mining closure plans are not implemented? Because they claim that mines are still on, still live.
The IBM, Indian Bureau of Mines, has got a rule that so long as the ore is not exhausted, you cannot close the pit. So because of that, the mine owners use that as an excuse and say that there is still some ore, so we will not close the pit. So the pits are left as they are collecting water, and the result is the status quo. Nobody is willing to close. So the mining closure plan will be done after 200 years, not by the miner. And today new situation has come up where the new mine successful auctioneers are saying, why you are blaming us to repair the damage done by the earlier mine owner? We are not responsible.